appreciate it. Strange Lunatic says, Nanu, Nanu, y'all.
Nanu, nanu.
Nanu, Nanu. Yeah, that's what I said. Nanu, Nanu.
Do you remember when Mork fought Fonzie?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mork and Mindy.
How did Mork travel through time to fight Fonzie? How did that happen?
No, he landed in the 50s first. Yeah, he landed in the 50s at first, and then he ended up in the 70s. I actually drove by the when Rob came out. We drove by the Mork and Mindy house.
Oh, really?
It's down in Boulder.
That's a real place?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Mork and Mindy.
Nanu, nanu.
Such a ridiculous show.
It was pretty great. Like, Mork would point at the jukebox and Fonzie would smack it and turn it off on him.
It's a popular show.
Mork would blow a door off the wall, so Fonzie would just go up near the hinge and go and make the door fall off. It's pretty great. Classic television.
I'll have to look up clips of that later.
I'm looking for a book and it's not over here, and that's going to bother me. I'll be back.
So, what else we got? We got Pliny the Elder. So if you listen to this show, you probably heard a mention of Pliny the Elder here and there. Pliny the Elder is, an author, a naturalist. He was a friend of the Emperor Vespasian, but yeah, he wrote much on the ancient world. And according to him, a spark fell from a star and grew as it descended until it appeared to be the size of the moon. It then ascended back up to the heavens and was transformed into a light. This is in 760 BC, a spark from a falling star. Ancient UFO sightings. I'm fascinated by these. This is just great. Plutarch in 740 BC, a flame-like pithily, pithoi from the sky. What's a pithoi? It is a large storage container. It's basically here's a picture of one.
You know, you're fancy ass because it said jug.
So for grain or something, Pete?
It's a jug. Jesse's right. It's a jug.
Jug. Okay.
Yep. Trust the dumbest one to give you the right answer.
Oh, okay. Wine. Good for wine.
Yeah, it looks like about one glass of wine.
Tell the glass. Depends on how tall it is, I guess.
Yeah, so according to Plutarch, the Roman army commanded by Lucilius was about to begin a battle with Mithridates VI of Pontius, when all on a sudden the sky burst asunder and a huge flame-like body was seen to fall between the two armies. Its shape, it was most like a wine jar and in color like molten silver. Plutarch reports the shape of the object as like a wine jar, a pithos. The apparently silvery object was reported by both armies. This is 774 BC.
See, how do you, that's like proof to me there.
But I'm wondering what happened to it. Like, if a UFO fell in between two Roman armies that were about to go to battle, what happens to UFO after that?
I don't know.
Because of who was able to drag it home.
You know, and why did it go? Why did it land there? Wasn't like they had nukes or anything.
Probably just crash landed, right?
Probably, you know.
Yeah. Coincidentally, like they were just probably watching and they just went a little too low and.
Oops-a-daisy.
Hey, there's all these people. Look at all these assholes riding horses up to each other.
Right?
Look at these primitives. Oops. Crash.
That sounds like me on GTA. Like, look at these dumbasses. Fuck, I hit a tree.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to pull up faster. You're an idiot. I should have driven.
Here's one for you. 66 AD. Chariots fill the skies of Jerusalem. According to Josephus, Tactius, and Eusebius of Caesarea, as the Roman army marched on Jerusalem, there were chariots and armed angels seen to fill the sky.
Wow.
That'd be trippy stuff. That's like that stuff, and like the Wild Hunt. I think like those fascinate me. Like to look up at the sky and see this just insane scene unfolding before you. You know, like
Hell yeah.
something like the Wild, which is a bad omen if you do see it. I think. But
Sure.
you know, it's these big scenes in the sky. I think are
Terrifying.
yeah, they'd be so awe-inspiring. You know what I mean? Like they would just inspire like this pure terror. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's incomprehensible to look up in the sky and see anything not normal going on.
Yeah. Just like that video I shot. With that one, they had the launch next to it. Crazy stuff going on. I was scared. It was just a little disturbance in the sky. You didn't see angels and ships and stuff. Still scary.
Here's a one from 196 AD, a report of angel hair. It's a sticky fibrous substance reported in connection with UFO sightings or manifestations of the Virgin Mary. Described like a cobweb or a jelly. The historian Cassius Dio described a fine rain resembling silver descending from a clear sky upon the Forum of Augustus. He used some of this material to plate some of his bronze coins, but by the fourth day afterwards, the silvery coating was gone.
Ectoplasmic residue.
Yeah, they don't know what it is.
They talk about that when they talk about those stories of the very attractive alien women that actually sleep with dudes for high breeding purposes.
Right.
But that's their only evidence. They get that weird fibrous hair. They said that it's thinner than human hair and it's clear.
Oh wow. I know you gotta mention Fatima, right?
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. Because we're just talking about the ancient ones now.
Okay.
What's cool is that my favorite abduction story, I was actually able to find that both on the internet and in a book. So it's cool.
Abduction, that's a whole different ball of wax there. You know,
Oh, yeah.
It's one thing to see a UFO and have it recorded in
But
history.
when they say, come aboard, and you're like, no, and they're like, no, come aboard.
It's like, yo, you just got voluntold.
Yeah, for real. Alright, what's the other old-timey ones?
Some other old-timey ones here we got. One that took place during the 16th,
Restraints disengaged.
and this was a big one. The 1561 celestial phenomenon of Nuremberg. Residents in Nuremberg, what was then the Holy Roman Empire, saw what they described as an aerial battle, followed by the appearance of a large black triangular object, and then a large crash outside of the city. The broadsheet claimed that the witnesses observed hundreds of spheres, cylinders, and other odd-shaped objects that moved erratically overhead.
Isn't there a painting of that?
There is a painting of that. Let me pull it up. There's a painting that we can look at it.
I remember looking at that.
I've got it right here.
Yeah, I'm a good student. I remember stuff. There.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for that's what's going on in the skies. That's 1561. That's
When you have so little of a clue of what's going on, that's just the only thing you come up with after what you just saw.
like, yeah, what else? What else
Do
could
you-
you do?
Look, even the sun, the face on the sun is like, what the fuck is it?
Space face of the sun. I don't know why you include the face of the sun. I guess maybe that's to let people know it's the sun and not part of the light show.
It's the smiley face.
Yeah, but if you look in the bottom right corner, there's definitely something crashed down there. So what happened to that?
Bunch
Did
of
all
the
the king's
circle.
forces and all the king's men go for it?
You would think.
So then what became of these things?
I would hate to be the poor creature who's left inside of that half alive with everybody drawing swords on it.
Oh yeah, that thing be gone.
It won't be like the American government where they're like, yeah, well, let's keep this thing and ask good questions. No, it's going to be stabby, stabby, stab.
Yeah, and then burn, burn, burn.
Burn it. Burn it! It's a demon! But let's steal its shit! Yes!
Yeah, but I think that kind of technology back in that primitive time period wouldn't be... I don't know. I don't know if they're
I don't even know what the fuck to do with it.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything they could do with it.
They'd be like, oh look, this thing makes lights. Oh shit, Carl got vaporized.
Yeah.
Don't be touching that one again.
Vaporized, just destroyed off the face of the earth. Large black triangular chain, really. I mean, look how big it is compared to the city.
Yeah, wouldn't that be Nibiru?
No, the Bureau's a planet, not a spaceship.
Wouldn't the black satellite?
I don't know if this would be the Black Knight. Black
Black
Knight's
Knight.
in orbit. This thing's like maybe the Black Knight's left over from that. But they say the Black Knight's much older.
Yeah, why not?
This is like a black triangle.
Put it on the side, maybe. Maybe it used to look different. Maybe it got damaged in this battle.
I think the Black Knight's like 10,000 years old or something like that, isn't it? Or more?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like 13,000 years old or something.
But Jesse's right. That's what I think of too when I see it.
I don't where the number 13,000 years came from. I'm not sure why it's like, oh,
Yeah, that's what it says.
13,000 years old.
Yeah. Up to. Possibly up to 13,000 years old and orbiting Earth in near polar orbit.
Hello yourself, lunatic. You know, every time I see this, it does remind me of something else completely, and that's the rods and cones in the eye.
Really?
Yeah, it just reminds me of this hidden knowledge aspect to it for some reason to me.
I feel like I should get this tattooed on.
As long as your wife is cool with it, you can get whatever you want tattooed on you, Pete.
Where'd you put it? No. No.
Right on my neck. Right on my
No. No. Don't do that.
So but there's supposed to be a lot of like cigar and cross-shaped ships and sphere ones, or are they lights?
Yeah.
I think that this, to me, this shows me all kinds of cross-shaped cigar and sphere-shaped ships, which have been reported throughout the years since modern encounters started happening.
Absolutely.
I think that what they did have here was a huge celestial event over Nuremberg. Like this thing in the skies dwarfs the city. Like whatever happened was big. You know, big
Yeah,
enough
look at
that
it.
they reported a crash. So like my thing is that with an instance like this, what happens to that crash material?
Hey, you guys remember Phantom Minutes back in the day, what, 98 or 2000 or whatever?
Yeah.
You know how they had the droids? They would bring them down on a ship and they'd like come off of the ship. It looks like those the plus signs are the things that come down to let the circle ships off of them. Because half the crosses have the circles and half don't. But they're the same colors.
They probably repurposed it, Pete, like they did everything else. You know? crashed?
I don't know. I don't know how you repurpose crash extraterrestrial material.
Nah, we're gonna steal that shit and make a phone. What year is this again?
Yeah, see?
This was in 1561.
See, that's modern enough where people weren't all, you know, didn't walk around with a case of the stupids all the time. Not just destroy it.
Yeah, but I don't think they drug it down to the Vatican archives. You know what I mean? Like,
You know, I just thought, every single case I've ever heard of UFOs, I mean, people got sick. So they probably, even if they were like messing around with it, once people started getting sick, they probably buried it. It's probably still there. I mean, you gotta think practically, they're not gonna be able to just like fucking drag a spaceship. Maybe they could at great effort, but I think they would just bury it. It looks like it fell in a field anyway.
Yeah, probably just abandoned the area forever until they forgot about it.
Got a bunch of surfs out there.
Bunch of them ultra up.
yeah, I think this one is right. It's one that I've always been interested in.
Pete, let me ask you one question. Why would you paint this if you didn't see it?
Well, it wasn't just painted; it was printed in like a brand sheet, a broadsheet. It was called. Broadsheet was the largest newspaper format. It had long vertical pages. So it was like a news article printed in April 1561. So it's like, this was the news. This is what happened. And it happened around dawn. Residents saw what they described as an aerial battle, followed by the appearance of a large black triangular object and a large crash outside the city. Hundreds of spheres, cylinders, and other odd-shaped objects that moved erratically. Across the field, two lunar crescents, a black sphere, and tubular objects from which several smaller round objects emerged and darted about the sky at dawn.
Oh, so those long ones are actually like Pez dispensers for little ships.
Test dispensers.
So maybe there is two factions of smaller motherships depositing battleships.
Yeah, well,
Let's say this is 10,000 feet in the air. To them, it just looks like dots and shapes. I mean, even that recent one where the Navy's like, yeah, this is real. They're supposedly, they described this looking like a Tic Tac. So
Yeah.
we're not dealing with like complicated, fancy-looking ships like we depict in sci-fi. They're practical things. I think they use rudimentary shapes. Yeah, I'm having a funny cigarette, so my words are getting bigger.
This makes me think of Galaxy Quest. It's a rock.
That was a good-ass movie. I'm surprised I don't have that.
Get it?
I'll have to look up when it came out and see if I get an anniversary edition or something.
That's a good movie to watch when you have funny cigarettes.
Indeed.
I'd say, yeah. I would
I mean, look at
think
the
so.
cast.
Alan Rickman.
Yeah. It's got Monk. It's got Tim the Tool Man. And Dana Barrett.
Sigourney Weaver.
There's no Dana on the
Yeah. She likes to sleep above the covers. 4 feet above the covers.
Yeah.
oh, okay, let's see what else we got here. I've lost enough things here.
Imagine getting abducted by predators. That'd be a lovely nightmare.
They kill you and stuff you.
Be like Bugs Bunny inside of a pot getting roasted, talking to your captors. Like, yeah, we're still gonna eat you guys.
All right, we got another broadsheet here. This is from 1566.
All right.
So let me go ahead and share this image with you.
And the first one was what year?
61, 1561. Okay, there we go.
Same shit. What the fuck?
Chaos in the sky.
This is a series of mass sightings of celestial phenomena above Basel, Switzerland. The Basel pamphlet of 1566 describes unusual sunrises and sunsets. Celestial phenomena were said to have fought together in the forms of numerous red and black balls in the sky before the sunrise. The report is discussed among historians and meteorologists. The phenomenon has been interpreted by some UFOologists to be a sky battle between unidentified flying objects. The leaflet written by historian Samuel Proteus reported it as a religious event. The Basel pamphlet of 1566 is not the only one of its kind. In the 15th and 16th centuries, many leaflets wrote of miracles and sky spectacles. The event was reported to have taken place in 1566 on the 27th to 28th of July and 7th of August. They reported seeing three celestial phenomenons. The first as an unusual sunrise. The second is a total eclipse of the moon with the red sun rising. And the third of a cloud of black spheres in front of the sun. That's terrifying.
Because that right? Imagine what they thought.
Hey, Pete, Philip was curious where you're reading from.
I'm reading from the 1566 Celestial Phenomenon over Basel Wikipedia page.
And what does that say up top there? Really hard to see. Yeah, at the top of the page, it's all fancy pants writing.
It's written in German, so I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I didn't think it was English.
It's all blurry and small.
Mm-hmm.
Schneem deel fout voor dem. Guten Tag. They like the chocolate. We come from the land of chocolate. Land of chocolate. I just remember Homer bit into the dog.
What else we got? 1595 in Wallachia. Strange comet-like object that stayed fixed on the sky, which wasn't found in any catalog of known comets. About the time of Michael the Brave's attack on Targostivis, which was occupied by the Ottoman army, there were reports of a bizarre comet that appeared in the city, staying pinned on the sky and shining over the Wallachian camp. Reportedly, it stayed there for almost 2 hours before vanishing. Wallachia, the historical home of Transylvania. Or, not Transylvania, of Vladimir Palin. But there were sightings in the more modern period, and that's what we're going to get to now. In the 19th century, you have sightings in the UK, you have sightings in Japan.
2012 Olympics.
Two.
You heard about that one?
No, we're just on the 19th century at this point.
I mean, 21st century, Jason.
Yes, it would be.
Now, I'm not going to go through every 20th century one because there are so many. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of meat up
Yeah, the 20th century ones are so numerous. It's ridiculous. Like, these older ones, you can just sweep up.
Automated flight control protocol initiated. Please submit a request
So here's
prior
one.
to landing.
From the eastern shores of Japan in 1803. On February 22nd or March 24th in 1803, local fishermen reportedly saw a vessel drifting in close by waters. They say when they investigated it, a beautiful young woman they described as having red and white hair, dressed in strange clothes appeared. The fisherman claimed she held a square box that no one was allowed to touch. She spoke to them in a language they never heard before. Some UFO believers think this story was an incredible document of a close encounter of the third kind in Japan.
Red and white hair, huh?
Yeah, they said they weren't supposed to open the box yet. They said the box is full of text, so they obviously open the box. And they said it was supposed to give knowledge to Japan.
They put her back in her boat and put her back in the sea.
Come away.
Sounds like they killed her.
Yeah, they returned her to her vessel where it drifted away.
Docking procedure completed. Ship
I'm the
secured.
ship drifting away.
Greetings, Commander.
It was 10 feet high, 17 feet wide, and reminded the witnesses of a Japanese incense burn. The upper part appeared to be made of a red coat of rosewood, while the lower part was covered with brazen plates, obviously to protect it against the sharp-edged rocks. The upper part had several windows made of glass or crystal covered with bars and clogged with some kind of tree resin. The shape of the hollow boat resembled a wooden rice pit.
Clogged with what, Pete?
The windows were completely transparent, and the baffled fisherman looked inside. The inner side of the Utsuro Boon was decorated with text written in an unknown language. The fisherman found items inside, such as 2 bed sheets, a bottle filled with 3.6 liters of water, some cake, and kneaded wheat. Then the fisherman saw a beautiful woman, possibly 18 or 20 years old. She was said to be 4.92 feet. She had red hair and eyebrows, and hair elongated by artificial white extensions. The extensions could have been made of white fur or thin white powdered textile streaks. This hairstyle could not be found in any literature. The skin of the lady was a very pale pink color. She wore precious, long, and smooth clothes of unknown fabrics. She began speaking, but no one understood her. She did not seem to understand the fisherman either, so no one could ask her about her origin. Although the mysterious woman appeared friendly and courteous, she acted oddly, always clutching a quadratic box made of pale material, around 24 inches in size. The woman did not allow anyone to touch the box, no matter how kindly or pressingly the witness asked.
Giggity.
An old man from the village said in theory the woman could be a princess of a foreign realm who married at her homeland. But when she had an affair with the townsman after marriage, it caused a scandal, and the lover was killed for punishment. The princess was banned from home, for she enjoyed lots of sympathy, so she escaped the death penalty. Instead, she might have been exposed in that Utsuro Broom to leave her to destiny. If this should be correct, the quadratic box may contain the heart of the woman's deceased lover. In the past, a very similar object with a woman was washed ashore on a close-by beach. During this incident, a small board was found pinned, with a pinned head was found.
Pinhead.
The contents of the box could therefore be the same, which would certainly explain why she protects it so much. It costs lots of money and time to investigate the woman in her boat. Since it seems to be tradition to expose these boats at sea, we should bring the woman back to the Utsuro boat and let her drift away. The townspeople were frightened. In a different version, the lady from the hollow boat stays where she landed and grows to old age. From human sight, it might be cruel, but it seemed to be her predetermined destiny. The fisherman reassembled the Utsuro Boon, placed the woman in it, and set it to drift away in the ocean.
What did you say the windows were crammed with? I couldn't understand what you said.
What?
When you were doing the description of the ship at the beginning, the top was wood, the bottom was like panels, and the windows were crystal or something other and crammed with something. I couldn't understand what you said.
Clogged with tree resin.
Clogged with tree resin. That's what I... Okay, thank you.
There are several further documents about these sightings. Investigations started in 1844, continued in 1925, and 1962, and 2010, and 2012. 2 rare ink printings were found and investigated. They contain stories about the Utsuro Boon with very similar content to the Hiroryo Kishu, although they claim a different location for the event. So there's drawings of it, ink drawings of it done in 1825. You know, and you can see why people would think this was a UFO encounter.
Yeah.
I'm not sharing the picture yet.
I'm talking about the description. Listening to the description.
Hold on, here we go.
I have an imagination.
Here we go. Here we go. Oh, I didn't even know if you had your thing. I didn't even suspect you had your thing. It's green.
No.
Yeah, there we go.
That was weird.
Shift release. Departure
Yeah, it was from
authorized.
1825. Don't touch my box.
Don't touch my box. Fed.
Looking at the top of that thing, the way it has the black top and two eyes, makes me think. Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom. But seriously, like, this woman didn't build this vehicle. It might be a spherical ship covered in some wood, just to make it look like something normal to the people. Who's to say that's really a woman?
Who's to say?
Where'd she get this box? Because the box was supposed to hold enlightenment for Japan.
I really couldn't understand her.
And she had red and white hair. Which is
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I traveled through.
I know, Mecca. You're everywhere.
good.
Well, I'm about to say, she had to have a hell of a stylist for 19th century Japan.
Or I will be traveling throughout time.
That's right. I know.
You know, I'm not like really into it, and I made fun of it a lot, but Big Bang Theory had something right. If any of us invent the time machine, we have to have a pact to come back right now. Alright, no time machine. Very easy. It is one of the easiest things to disprove when you think about it.
Unless you're not allowed to, because
You want to screw up the timeline.
Using time cop rules,
Mhm.
where you can't touch yourself or you turn into some weird cancer being.
fabric of space-time will explode.
Yeah, I imagine time travel wouldn't be a thing that you could just do. At least not until like super far.
You pretty much have to invent the time machine yourself, because the government would rather screw up the past themselves.
Quantum leap.
Yeah, but that was different, because he went into bodies.
Yeah, no.
For right and wrong. I never saw the first episode. Was he dead? Was that like his purgatory to help people or something?
You know what? I don't know, Jesse. That's a good question.
Becca, do you remember what the original premise of Quantum Leap was?
I think they were just, they're scientists.
It was just a science thing and he got caught in it.
Yeah.
I like the one where he's pregnant.
So the guy who's always helping him with the cigar, is that like his fellow buddy scientist and he's just trying to help him out of the Matrix?
No, Al's a hologram. The other guy, I think.
Mm-hmm. Is he like a hologram of his buddy back in the lab trying to help him? Or is he like a computer program?
I don't know. I don't remember much of Quantum. Like, I think I saw a few episodes.
Too many unanswered questions.
Well, I'm sure they did in the show. I've seen like 3 episodes.
For real.
About that.
Yeah.
I went back and I watched the Space Monkey episode and the Rockstar episode. I don't even know where I saw them. I think I found them on YouTube.
He was a physicist who gets stuck in the past as a result of a time travel experiment.
All right.
And Al, what you're talking about,
Yeah.
Philadelphia Rear Admiral Albert Al Calamiti is a project observer at Quantum Leap. It appears to Samuel Beckett as a hologram. The part of Al is played by, no kidding. So I guess he's back and helping him, like you said, Jesse.
And that's why he's got that funky 80s power pad.
Right? That's a good series.
Yeah, it was.
Frameshift drive charging.
There was a shout out to Stephen King in that too, I believe.
Yeah.
Yo, shout out to Stephen King. Love Quantum Leap.
Yo.
Yeah, like he went back in time and one of the people he helped, he was a kid named Steven, and the kid ran to the car, he called his dog Cujo over, and he was like, wait, what? Like, oh, this makes so much more sense.
Mystery airships, everybody. Mystery airships. This is a good one. This happened between 1896 and 1897 here in the United States. Numerous reports of UFO sightings and attempted abductions that took place in the United States in a 2-year period.
Yeah.
Airships, or phantom airships, are classified UFOs best known from a series of newspaper reports originating in the western United States and spreading east during late 1896 and early 1897. Mystery airship reports are seen as a cultural predecessor to modern claims of extraterrestrial piloted flying saucer style. Typical airship reports involve nighttime sightings of unidentifiable lights. More detailed accounts report ships comparable to a dirigible. Reports of the alleged crewmen and pilots usually describe them as human-looking, although sometimes the crew claimed to be from Mars. It was popularly believed the mystery airship was the product of some kind of genius who was not ready to make knowledge of his creation public. For example, Thomas Edison was so widely speculated to be the mind behind the alleged airships that in 1897 he was forced to issue a strongly worded statement denying his responsibility. Are you the man responsible for the phantom airships, Mr. Edison? No comment, no comment. Mr. Edison, the newspaper man wants to know if you're responsible for the phantom airships.
That's great.
Oh, man. I almost got sucked into reading about Quantum Leap for a second. I had to know how it ended. When any leap could be the final leap home. Quantum Leap. You could never get away with that shit today. And if you did, it would be terrible.
Oh yeah, it would be terrible.
It'd be terrible.
Well, back in the day, you know, they had this thing called writing.
Yeah, right?
I can't even begin to imagine how bad it would be.
I know.
So, let's see. It was frequently argued that the mystery airships are unlikely to represent test flights of real human manufactured dirigibles, as no record of successfully sustained or long-range airship flights are known from the period. It would have been impossible, not to mention irrational, to keep such a thing secret. To the contrary, however, there were in fact several functioning airships manufactured before the 1896-1897 reports. This goes on to say the contemporary American newspapers of the yellow journalism era were more likely to print manufactured stories and hoaxes than are modern news sources. And editors of the late 1800s would often have expected the reader to understand that such stories were false. Most journalists of the period did not seek to take the airship reports very seriously. After the major 1896-97 wave concluded, the subject fell quickly from public consciousness. The airship stories received further attention only after the 1896-97 newspaper reports were largely rediscovered in the mid-1960s. UFO investigators suggested the airships might represent earlier precursors to post-World War II UFO sightings. The wave of mystery airships. There's illustrations of mystery airships in San Francisco Chronicles. It's not a very good illustration. It's not worth sharing with you. Just, yeah, let me see how big it is. No, it just looks like squiggles. It's not worth it, everybody. Sometimes it's not worth it, sometimes. Squiggle me timbers.
Squiggles are creepy.
There's super chat for Glenn. Much appreciated. Good to see you guys. Glenn for $5. Thank you. Glenn says thanks for y'all and just for y'all.
November.
Thanks for you. Thanks for y'all's part of it. Thank you.
Docking permission.
Well, you know, all we had to do is watch a bunch of fucking Boston videos about UFO stuff. Take screenshots of it.
Tonight.
Yeah, as opposed to a lot of nights where Pete is like praying to ancient gods. I honestly think that's what he does in his spare time. He tries to just summon ancient gods and see which ones are real. That's why he's got that pentagram carpet.
Yeah,
Just a
my
quick
cat's a
and
big
easy
fan of the
way.
pentagram carpet.
It figures.
Just come on. Come on, bro.
Docking
So,
procedure
what else?
completed. Ship secured.
Well, that brings us to the 20th century.
Fatima.
So now we're up to the 20th century. That's good. We're getting closer to stuff to talk about where we can get into depth. There's a lot of them here in the 20th century. Of course, there's the Foo Fighters in World War II. There's the Fatima Miracle of the Sun.
You know what though? You know the last crap. I don't remember which one it was. The second picture that you shown where it looked like a bunch of chaos in the sky. Remember the description was like large. Was it? Did it say like large, like suns like roving around all over the sky? Right?
Spheres.
Spheres. It made me think of Fatima because maybe that was just one of them. Because it was a sphere.
The large silver disc of the sun moving in and out in shape.
Yeah, maybe they mistaked it as the sun, you know?
Size, rather.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, it's like we were discussing on that show about Fatima. There's a lot of people who think that it was a spaceship that went in front of the sun, and that's why it was able to change
Maneuver
shape
around.
and look silver.
Yep.
Could be.
Yeah.
I mean, what's to say that a very advanced species can't do a Project Bluebeam using our planet's local religions?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't seem to be doing anything except trying to impart peace.
It would be the first time people thought of it.
Very interesting. The whole Fatima thing was very much about sacrifice, personal sacrifice. So to think that an alien race might have that kind of view that we need to sacrifice for all the sins of all the people, that's deep shit right there. Because that says to me, are they already on some kind of higher spiritual plane than us? Because they tend to claim they are a lot of times.
Yeah,
Maybe they actually are.
They're worried about us killing each other. So.
Yeah, for no good reason.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe once you've been around the universe a little bit, you realize how unique life is and how you shouldn't just end it all the time.
Over stupid shit. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Over stupid shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's precisely it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Warning, bad joke ahead. Come on, Nicole, what you got? Pete's getting chicken nuggets.
Is he?
No.
That was right.
That was funny.
I was not getting chicken nuggets.
Oh, speaking of that though, I have been trying that food. You want to hop in on that real quick?
Oh yeah. So
Yep. Pete has a sponsor, everybody. Big
right,
time.
right. So Creepy Little Book has a sponsor now. It's My Patriot Supply, and they've got emergency food. And Jesse got himself the 4-week emergency food supply kit.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with the purchase, actually.
And he tried the food. And how did it go? How simple was it?
Well, as far as being simple, yeah, it can't get any simpler. I think they're kind of missing out because remember on Futurama they just had bachelor chow and it was just a big bag that he mixed with water. Like that's how they should be selling this shit because it makes life way easier. And it's like this morning I tried the pancakes and I never get the complete pancakes that you just add water to in the store because they're not as fluffy, but these were good. I don't know what kind of chemistry they're using to make it last 25 years. It probably has something to do with it, but they just come out fluffy. I also tried the energy drink. They call it energy drink, but it's not really energy drink. There's not a bunch of nasty chemicals in it. Like you can give that to a kid. All it is orange flavored stuff. Yeah, but it has a shit ton of vitamin C in it, and it also has like 150 calories per glass.
Wow.
So the drink has calories to it too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that would be a better thing to hold on to. Like in an actual survival situation, I kind of stash that away for when somebody's catching a cold.
Yeah, yeah.
Like here's a giant glass of vitamin C.
Yeah, good
But
call.
it does taste good. It's sweet. Orangey. It's good. What else did I try? I think it's potato and onion soup. It was really good. The one packet made like this big ass bowl. Oh yeah, the mac and cheese I tried, that was a good one too. Yeah, it was good shit. Still have some in my fridge.
Well, I'm glad to hear
So
that.
it'll actually last.
I'm gonna crack mine open tomorrow, making videos
Yeah.
of the process. Try some of this stuff out. I'm looking forward. Do a little taste testing.
Yeah, like Tina was saying the other day, I mean, like, a couple little spice cabinet additions. Do it to your own taste. That's why I ordered this one because I wanted to try everything so that if, God forbid, I ever needed to, I would already know,
How to
like,
do it thing,
yeah, like use half a bag of this or use, a quarter of a bag of that or blah, 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 or how to cook it so it's not nasty or
Yeah,
how
that's
not
smart,
fuck things
Jesse.
up. Because, I'm not exactly a culinary genius.
I'm sure you're fine.
Tina had to buy me a meat thermometer.
I got Jesse a meat thermometer.
And you know what? My steaks have been so much better since that thing.
Yeah, awesome.
Oh, hell
I'm so
yeah.
happy to hear that. That's awesome. Yeah, I like ours. I use ours.
I
more
got
than
an
thought I
awesome
would.
recipe for steak. It's salt, pepper, and butter.
Oh yeah.
And that's it.
So, yeah, you put a little pat of butter on it. Yeah, that's what I always do too.
Oh, I put butter in the pan first, and
Oh,
with
it's
like
good.
a dab of A1 or something, I'll just simmer that up and cook everything that.
I usually just add it at the end, and then it melts on it.
Yeah, I like to keep it basted in that shit, make it nice and unhealthy.
Yeah, it's really good, and with the butter on it.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Porn.
Oh,
With all this emergency food, it makes me think about animal husbandry a lot. It's like you could have all these things like that would satisfy a vegetarian, but you're still gonna need to have a pig once in a while, or cow, some sort of fresh meat.
you can get a couple goats on the cheap.
Yeah. That's very true. Goats are a good option because they're small, they reproduce, and you don't really feel bad about killing and eating them because they look like Baphomet.
Oh,
Oh, but they're cute.
cute.
That's why women don't kill the animals.
Yeah, it's true.
But you can milk that goat too.
Yep.
Get yourself a pair of breeding goats.
That's something I liked about The Walking Dead as much as I criticized it, was that there was the guy who taught Morgan how to use a staff, and his big thing was that he was just trying to learn how to make cheese again. I guess that made him feel civilized.
Alright, so back to UFO sightings. That's totally off track.
Yeah, my bad.
No,
Got hungry.
No, it's fine.
It's our commercial
Yeah,
break.
it's our commercial break. Yeah, exactly.
Ship
It's alright, we got enough
Departure
UFO
authorized.
encounters for like 8 shows, so...
Yeah. Now we're up to the 20th century. We got all the UFO encounters from here on. One of my favorites, the Battle of Los Angeles.
Mhm.
They fired thousands of rounds of anti-aircraft. Something in the sky over LA.
That's crazy.
Multiple targets.
And they just barraged it.
Automated flight
This was
control
right after
protocol
Pearl
now
Harbor.
offline.
Well,
Thank
not
you,
right after,
Commander.
it's the 50s, but that's what they were thinking. They're thinking it was a Japanese attack.
Probably.
Frameshift drive
So they realized that with all their guns, they couldn't hit shit.
Yeah, right?
4,
Get out the shower, dude.
2, 1, engage.
Imagine all those shots fired. No hits.
That's crazy.
It's really crazy. I think by random happenstance we hit something in a crossfire.
Absorbing some force field.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're already on this planet trying to recreate things that essentially are vibranium. You know, goes to look back to one of my actual fears, where if aliens did attack, we don't have any weapons that will do anything.
Oh no, I don't think we have anything that'll hold on to them. You know, that's
Hell
not
no.
the case because the government's probably farther ahead than we know.
I hope
That's
so.
true. That's
It
true.
better be.
I really think there's a solar wooden space fleet up there. I think they're
Well,
already dealing with other alien races. It's a secret. You know, it's like
Can
Star.
you imagine when we finally have disclosure? That's gonna be a day.
Well, they kind of do.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, disclosure to where everybody actually sees an alien.
Yeah.
Where you actually, like
You know,
like...
there's like a press conference and there's an
Yeah.
alien standing there in front of a
Standing there.
microphone and it's like,
Really good Dave Chappelle skit.
yeah, yeah.
But by the way, aliens are real. You thank him for the PlayStation.
Here's one from 1946, which I think is a cool band name.
Mm.
The Ghost Rockets. I think that would make a great band name.
That
I can
would
see
be.
that as a ska band. Numerous UFO sightings were reported over Scandinavia, causing the Swedish defense staff to express concern. The Ghost Rockets. The first reports were made were about in 1946 in February. About 2,000 sightings were logged between May and December of 1946, with a peak on 9th and 11th August of 1946. 200 sightings were verified with radar returns, and authorities recovered physical fragments which were attributed to ghost rockets. Investigators concluded that many of the ghost rocket sightings were probably caused by meteors. The peak of the rockets also fell between the peak of the Perseus meteor shower. However, most ghost rocket sightings did not occur during meteor shower activity, and furthermore display characteristics inconsistent with meteors, such as reported maneuverability. Debate continues as to the origins of the unidentified ghost rockets. In 1946, however, it was thought that they originated from the former German rocket facility at Peenemünde. A long-range test by facility to capture German B-1 or B-2 missiles, or perhaps another early form of cruise missile because of the ways they were sometimes seen in the maneuver. It was prompted the Swedish Army to issue a directive stating that newspapers were not to report the exact location of ghost rocket sightings, or any information regarding the direction or speed of the object. This information, they reasoned, was vital for the evaluation purposes to the nation or nations performing these attacks. Ghost rocket. Such a cool name. But they weren't confined to Scandinavian countries. There were also sightings by British Army units in Greece, at Macedonia, at Thessaloniki, Portugal, Belgium, northern Italy. So there were other places they saw these ghost rockets too. Ghost rockets. That's my comment. I'm taking it. I'm taking it. The ghost rockets. You heard it here first. I'm taking it. I don't even want to do a comic book.
What would it be about?
What's he
Be
gonna do
about
it
a ska band.
on Enoch?
That'd be cool. There's a comic book about a ska band.
Yeah, it'd be about a ska.
May as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, ghost rockets. It'll be a hero's journey kind of story. That's the only story worth writing.
Yeah, there's a whole book on it.
There is. Hero of a Thousand Faces. This is an awesome title.
But my son loves stuff come down.
Just a fantastic title.
Yeah, it was very insightful work. These days, it still works.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's a good
Gas is retracted.
There's the Murray Island incident from 1947 from Puget Sound near Maury Island in Washington. Now this one's an interesting one here. Excuse me.
Do tell, sir. Do tell.
Most of what is speculated comes from a report by Kenneth Arnold,
Frameshift drive charging.
an aviator who had claimed to see several UFOs in the area around that time, in the first UFO sightings ever reported. Chrisman and Dahl claimed to Arnold that they were harbor patrolmen on a workboat near Maury Island and that they saw 6 donut-shaped objects in the sky. According to Chrisman and Dahl, one of the objects dropped a substance that resembled lava or white metal onto their boat, breaking a worker's arm and killing a dog.
Holy shit.
Dahl also claimed he was later approached by a man in a dark suit and told not to talk about the incident. While even the claim that Chrisman and Dahl were harbor patrolmen is now believed to be false, Arnold was convinced by their story and contacted Air Force intelligence officers who flew in along with another from California. The officers concluded the metal objects were aluminum and not of interest. They did not reveal this to Dahl. To Arnold, however, to avoid embarrassing him. The officers then died in a crash on their way back to California. That's weird.
Yeah, it is.
Yep, they lost control of their
aluminum and not of any interest.
off of the cliff.
Yeah, that's really weird. The FBI then gets involved in the case and concluded that Chrisman and Dahl sightings were a hoax. In their files, they noticed that Dahl stated, if questioned by authorities, he was going to say it was a hoax because he didn't want any further trouble over the matter. Files also detail a few alternate stories communicated by Chrisman and Dahl to local newspapers and other media outlets. They concluded they had contacted a variety of publications in hopes of building up their story to publicity to the point where they could finally make a profitable deal with Fantasy Magazine. And Robert A. Palmer, who is often credited with inventing the concept of the UFO, began Fate magazine in 1948 with a cover story by Arnold on his investigations of the Maury incident, as well as his nearby alleged UFO sightings. The pair also wrote the book The Coming of the Saucers. The story was later retold in Gary Barker's 1956 book, They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers, which helped to popularize the image of the Men in Black in mainstream culture. The account also appeared in the debunked Majestic 12 documents, which claimed the metal fragments were part of a nuclear reactor and that they were subsequently turned over to the CIA. Craig Glenday also cites the Maury Island incident along with Arnold's sightings in his 1991 book, The UFO Investigator's Handbook, as a notable UFO incident surrounding Mount Rainier, which he describes as a UFO laboratory. Dahl's story was told in the 2014 short film, The Maury Island Incident.
Well, you know what? If the first guys on the scene are like, this is aluminum, then why would the FBI show up?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. It's like nothing to see here. Hi, FBI. Yeah, we don't know what's going on. Please come. If I was a guy, I'd be like, well, what about my dog? Did I make that up? None of it adds up. None of it. I don't trust it.
I don't trust it either, Jesse.
Me neither. It's
I call bullshit.
a real plausible story.
That sounds like they put that shit on lockdown to try to recover whatever it was that was still on the debris of the boat.
Yep.
Because if they were pouring something on there that was physical, they wanted.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And Tommy Lee Jones shows up with his little... This says, I'm just a figment of your imagination. Yeah, he has his little vibrator that
Okay.
erases your memory.
There's the Mantell UFO incident. January 7th, 1958, 25-year-old Captain Thomas F. Mantell, Mustang fighter, after being sent in pursuit of an unidentified flying object. The event was one of the most publicized early UFO incidents.
He was the one that looked like it was dropped from the sky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that story. Can you go into details on that one?
So, he was an experienced pilot. His history consisted of 2,167 hours in the air, and he'd been honored for his part in the Battle of Normandy during World War II.
So not a noob.
Right. On the 7th of January 1948, Goodman Army Airfield in Fort Knox, Kentucky received a report from Kentucky Highway Patrol of an unusual aerial object near Madisonville, Kentucky. Reports of a westbound circular object 250 to 350 feet in diameter were received from Owensboro and Irvington. About 1:45 p.m., Sergeant Quentin Blackwell saw an object from his position in the control tower of Fort Knox. Two other witnesses in the tower also reported a white object in the distance. Colonel Guy Hicks, the base commander, reported an object he described as very white and about 1/4 the size of the full moon. Through binoculars, it appeared to have a red border at its bottom. It remained stationary, seemingly for 1.5 hours. Observers at Clinton County Army Airfield in Ohio described the appearance of the object as having a flaming red cone trailing a gaseous green mist, and observed the object for around 35 minutes. Another observer at Lockbourne Army Airfield in Ohio noted just before it leaving, it came very near to the ground, staying down for about 10 seconds. It climbed at a very fast rate back to its original altitude, 10,000 feet, leveling off and disappearing into the dark atmosphere at 120 degrees. The speed was greater than 500 miles per hour. Four Ford F-51D Mustangs of Sea Flight 165th Fighter Squadron from Air National Guard, and one piloted by Mantell, were already in the air, told to approach the object. Blackwell was in radio communication with the pilot throughout the day. One pilot's Mustang was low on fuel and quickly returned to base. Ruppelt notes that there were some disagreements amongst air controllers. As to Mantell's words as he communicated with the tower, some sources have said Mantell had described an object which looks like metallic and of tremendous size. According to Ruppelt, others dispute whether or not Mantell actually seen this. Two other pilots accompanied Mantell in steep pursuit of the object. They later reported they saw an object, but described it as so small and indistinct that they could not identify it. Mantell ignored suggestions that the pilots should level their altitude and try to make release of the object. One of Mantell's wingmen, Colonel Albert Clements, had an oxygen mask. His oxygen supply was low. Clement and the third pilot, John Hammond, called off their pursuit, switching to down to 500. Mantell continued. Without reporting the Air Force, once he passed 25,000 feet, he blacked out from the lack of oxygen. His plane began to spiral backwards towards the river. A witness later reported Mantell's Mustang was circling the sea. His plane crashed on a farm south of Franklin, Kentucky, on the Kentucky-Tennessee state line. The Mustang's wreckage, his seatbelt was shredded, and his wristwatch had stopped at 3:18 p.m. at the time of the crash. Meanwhile, by 3:50, the UFO was no longer visiting Tennessee along the airfield.
And when they found him, they said it looked like someone had dropped him straight down like a flat truck. He was dead on his own. And the big thing was that if he was spinning out of control, that would have left made no sense. Plus, like you said, 25,000 feet.
I think so, Jesse.
But most of the plane was intact.
1948.
48.
There's a lot about that case. It's just bizarre and weird. But besides, the dogfight with the UFO, the remaining physical evidence just doesn't add up to the story. It was obviously witnessed. That's why I like it so much. It's just the trailers and further explanations, just like
This incident was reported by newspapers around the nation and received significant news media attention. A number of sensational rumors were also circulated about Mantell's crash. Among the rumors were claims that the flying saucer was a Soviet missile, was an alien spacecraft that shot down Mantell's flight over its reverse, Mantell's body was formed with bullets, Air Force investigators specifically refute some claims, such as supposedly radioactive. Wild speculation about the condition of Mantell's crash F-51. So I wired for a copy of the accident report. It said that Mantell's body had not burned, not disintegrated, and was not full of holes. The wreckage was not radioactive, nor was it magnetized. Mantell was the first member of the Kentucky Air National Guard to die in flight. According to John Tobridge, historian of the Kentucky National Guard, there's a real X-Files twist to this too. Mantell lived almost his entire life in Louisville. He was born in a hospital in Franklin, only a few miles from where he was killed.
Scout detected.
Just happens within 5 miles of your house. I guess it goes.
Oh, Tina.
Plane crashes.
That's funny. You get the golf cart. So what the hell do you think of now, what about it was supposed to be like the fuselage in the body.
Target destroyed.
So like, no wings.
Right.
Bashed up front end, bashed up back end, but the core was supposed to still be there, from what I heard.
Damn near imploded when it hit the ground, you know?
Detected.
That's probably this one.
Yeah, always was under the impression he kept chasing the UFO too high and passed out. He's chasing the dragon. The
Yeah,
dragon
those
got
guys
him.
luckily were not wearing oxygen masks back then and stuff.
Well, he was, but the one guy had to turn back and says, well.
Oh, okay.
Target destroyed.
I recall watching something where they took old school World War II pilots and they gave them they put them in the flight simulators of the modern shit, and they're like, yeah, this is where our plane stalled out. They're like, this thing just keeps on going. This thing's nice. I mean, they did have their limitations back in the day, and this was supposed to be a Mustang, right?
Right.
Mustang's a dogfighting plane. I mean, that was the beast that we had. To think that he took a Mustang 25,000 feet up, that's pure Mr. Big Balls action right there.
Mr. Big Balls.
He knew that shit wasn't going to go well when he passed 20,000 feet. I mean, just imagine that. You're in this thing that's like probably same size as a car, and you're up that high.
Not even that.
Meanwhile, the engine's sputtering. Nah, and you're chasing a UFO.
Right? And you're chasing a UFO.
I mean, what kind of brass balls did this guy have? It's like, I'm gonna get that son of a bitch. What was he gonna do with it if he caught it? Hey, hats off to him. You start getting the prize. Oh, Philip, I busted out my old by Jim Mars because it has a story in it about an alien abduction that I want to bring up later.
Well, you can bring it up now if you want. We're in the 21st century.
Alright, then. Might as well just read it from here because it's I ever heard it. In April 1989, Lyndon Napolitano, identified as Nina Cortana, contacted abduction author Bud Hopkins to say she had experienced abduction since childhood. On November 30th, she contacted Hopkins to say that she had been abducted early that morning but could not recall many details. The 45-year-old researcher stated that she lay awake at about 3:15 a.m. She felt paralysis come over her body and saw a gray alien standing by her bed. Resisting the intrusion, she threw a pillow at the creature, then lapsed into unconsciousness and recalled nothing until she came to be in bed sometime later. Under hypnosis, Linda recalled being escorted by three creatures as they floated her through a closed 12th-story window of her east side apartment to a hovering UFO outside. Her husband remained in his seat throughout this activity. She said a beam of blue light drew her and the aliens into the UFO where she was given a medical examination before being returned to her bed. Her experience and subsequent events were chronicled in 1996 book by Hopkins and Heather Griffiths, The True Story of the Purple Group UFO Abductions. This would have been only one more typical abduction experience except for the activities that began in February 1991 when Hopkins received a letter from two men claiming to be policemen identified only as Richard and Dan. The pair said that they had witnessed Linda's abduction from their car parked a few blocks away. They said they were on duty in Manhattan when they saw a woman being floated from an apartment house into a hovering UFO, which then dived into the East River not far from the Brooklyn Bridge. After the UFO failed to return after more than 45 minutes, the pair became anxious over the fate of this woman. Hopkins informed Linda of the man's letter and urged her that they might contact her. When indeed was visited by Richard and some weeks later, they appeared greatly relieved to find her alive and well, and on her urging agreed to contact Hopkins again. The author soon received further correspondence from the pair, as well as a text message. They explained that they came back in public because they were unruly security agents who were on the night of the Quartile's abduction were reporting an international political figure to a rendezvous with a helicopter. Although Hopkins referred to this person only as the third man in his book, several publications identified him as none other than the former United States Secretary General Javier Perez. The agents said their car had suddenly stopped, and while waiting, all three men witnessed the abduction. This statement led Hopkins to believe that the entire episode had been a display of reality abduction staged by aliens. Security agents. Some of these witnesses recalled seeing a UFO, while others only remembered that the car stole. Months later, Hopkins said he was contacted by a retired telephone operator. He said that the car also stopped while crossing Brooklyn Bridge in early morning hours of December 30th, 1989. The woman said she too was the abduction. Drawings made of the evidence reportedly closely matched drawings made by one security agents. By the publication of this book on the case, Hopkins found a total of 6 separate instances of evidence. Many UFOologists initially thought the Brooklyn Bridge abduction story was one account that would prove the reality of the abduction experience. But like so much of the whole UFO issue, it too fell into disarray as investigation continued. A government agent unconnected to the case said early morning rides to helicopters violated, and a spokeswoman for Helior stated that the Secretary General was home in bed at the time of the event. Of course he was! Debunkers decried the lack of additional witnesses, pointing out that several people were found waiting time. Post located across the street from Linda's apartment saw nothing. Hopkins announced this attack by noting that in addition to the scarcity of workers at that time, the Sox door faced away from the door. The self-styled skeptical investigators circulated a great deal of erroneous information because none of them had ever bothered to call in any issue To increase the confusion, Linda said that on October 15th, 1991, she was abducted. This time by Agent Dan, who took her to a beach house on Long Island and forced her to put on a white nightgown like the one she had worn during the abduction. She said Agent Richard arrived at the house and sedated Dan. Linda said she later received a letter from Dan written from a mental institution containing an implied threat that he planned to kidnap her, a threat he attempted to carry out. Apparently this guy went crazy over this incident. Hopkins' investigation revealed the abduction case as one that involved not only repeated abductions of both Linda and her children, but also involved the alien abduction of Richard, Dan, and the man they were assigned to protect. He also described hypnosis sessions that indicated that there was some sort of interconnection between all of the principals in the case. Hopkins published an X-ray of Linda's head showing a small implant in her nose, which later strangely disappeared after all 4 family members awoke one morning with similar nosebleeds. While debunkers undoubtedly will continue to dismiss this case, the details Hopkins provided are persuasive. As for me, he concluded, it is easier to believe that the unanimity of witnesses' testimony and existence of many kinds of supporting physical evidence attested to the reality of the event, rather than to believe in the existence of a vastly complex plot conceived and orchestrated by a middle-aged housewife of modest means, a mother of 2 young boys who would forever be dependent upon and hostage to a small army of accomplices. Linda herself added a strong challenge to the debunkers when asked Hopkins, if I was only having a hallucination that night in 1989, why not ask a psychiatrist how so many people could all have seen my hallucination? This abduction event so drastically alters our knowledge of the alien incursion into our world that it's easily. No previous case has had such a profound effect on so many lives. None has ever been observed by so many instances. Hopkins also said that this case indicated that the UFO who attempted to affect global politics by their simple abduction fell through the He added, it seems obvious that the UFO occupants, whoever or whatever they are deeply and intimately involved in the lives of certain human beings. Apparently, they can manipulate the behavior of these people, at least temporarily, with near absolute precision. Everything I have learned in 20 years of research into the UFO abduction phenomenon leads me to conclude that the alien central purpose is not to teach us about taking better care of the environment. Instead, all the evidence points to their being here to carry out a complex breeding experiment in which they seem to be working to create a hybrid species, a mix of human and alien characteristics. Although the case is still ongoing and considered by many a strong argument for the abduction experience, it has further split the UFO research community as to its validity. And that also covers underwater UFOs. Because it is different. But that's like my favorite abduction story, and I always remembered it from
Scan detected.
That's cool.
And I think that they were doing the same thing to the kids. It's like when they have an x-ray or something in their nose and they all have fluids so just in their head.
Target destroyed.
Now I need a cigarette. Who's next? Dead air, doctor. Dead air.
Let's see.
Cargo skill deployed.
The McMinnville UFO photographs. It happened in 1950. The McMinnville UFO photographs were taken on a farm near McMinnville, Oregon in 1950 in the United States. The photos were printed in Life magazine and in newspapers across the nation. They're often considered to be one of the most famous ever taken of a UFO. UFO skeptics believe that the photos are a hoax, but many UFOologists continue to argue the photos are genuine and show an unidentified object in the sky. Let's see
Can
if
you
I
share that one? Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna share that
Cargo
one.
skill retracted.
There we go. Got some more.
I love pictures from before the days of Photoshop.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I can't see some farmer faking this.
That's not a blip. That's the only thing I could picture of it. It doesn't have anything on the bottom.
Like what to be a blip?
Advertising the one dude.
Scan detected.
Like, hey Larry, how good are your tires?
Did they used to advertise back then, or they used to, you couldn't get me in a blip. Not that
What are you talking about, the Hindenburg?
yeah.
Just don't fill flammable gas.
Have a nice time. We got free tickets for you. Nah,
That's a pretty nice price.
Cigarette.
Target destroyed.
Boom.
Oh, well, I hate to say it, folks, but it's that time of the night.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
We've been at this for an hour and a half. Did you have any more UFO stories you wanted to share, guys?
Like a million?
well, we can go for a little bit. We got another one.
Well, something real quick is there's this guy named Kenneth Arnold, and this was a month before Roswell, but supposedly he coined the term flying saucer.
Right. The Mount Rainier guy?
Yeah.
Yep, Mount Rainier. He says that they were going, he saw like nine glowing orbs in the sky, much like the lights you see.
Scan detected.
But they were going a minimum of 12,000 miles an hour.
How do you gauge that?
First post-war sighting in the United States, garnered national news coverage, and it was the first of the modern era of UFO sightings. Numerous sightings over 2 to 3 weeks. Arnold's descriptions of the objects also led to the press quickly coining the terms flying saucer and flying disc as popular descriptive terms for UFOs.
Pete, have you ever seen an alien or a UFO?
Scan detected.
Yeah, he was looking for a C-46 transport airplane that crashed near Mount Rainier, and there was a reward for it. And that's what he's for. I kept going back.
Gotta get that reward.
Scan detected.
Pete,
Yeah.
have you ever seen a UFO?
No.
Really?
No.
Have you, Jesse?
Well, one of my buddies, he had a garage that had a flat roof, so we used to hang out there and drink beers and shit. So one night we were chilling out there, and we were just like looking up at the sky, chilling, and we were drinking Newcastles. And we saw like 4 lights in the sky that kept moving, kept moving around and stopping. And we were just like, I don't know if we got to hell or not. And he was just like, no, let's go inside. And this again. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah, I know. That's really
Have you, Mecca?
Yeah, a couple of times.
Target destroyed.
I was really little. My mom said that I looked up to the sky when we were driving really far away, and I said, how could you do that? It's some lights that were dancing around the sky. And yeah, well, there was always times we'd see lights dancing around the sky. We saw the cross-shaped UFOs. Yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. I've never seen a cross shape. A handful of UFOs, actually. And luckily, twice I was with my cousin. It's my roommate here. Big orange ball in the middle of this. At night, it was nighttime, it's dark. It's really dark up there too, because it's in the mountains. It's just hovering. And because we were zigzagging back and forth, you know, I lost sight of it at one amount. The other time here, this place, where I live now, and it looked like, it sort of reminded you of the Big Dipper constellation. We were looking up, and then all of a sudden, like 15 stars just started moving, and they went all the way across the sky. But they were like, they were changing position. They were like drawing in and going back out. And they were covering the sky pretty quick. Me and my cousin were just looking at it.
Flight assist. Flight assist.
Jimmy Christmas. Surrounded by cats.
I know.
They're everywhere. They're just like I've got an infestation. Like, oh no, it's a cat.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I've got 2, and they're everywhere. 4? It's like, every time you step, you know. And do yours do that thing where you're walking along and they do that like park right in front of you? They sort of wait for you to step and then they move. And get
Oh,
your feet. Oh, I hate that. It's like after stepping on them 15 times, they won't do that anymore. I guess they don't care.
Want another UFO story?
Yeah.
All right, this one happened in Rendlesham Forest.
Oh, the Rendlesham Forest. Yeah.
This is December 26th, 1980. Around, not what I wanted to do. Christmas season. Around 3 a.m. on December 26th, 1980, reported as the 27th by Holt in his memo to the UK Ministry of Defense. A security patrol near the east gate of RAF Woodbridge saw lights apparently descending into nearby Rendlesham Forest. These lights have been attributed by astronomers to a piece of natural debris seen burning up as a fireball over southern England at the time. Servicemen initially thought it was a downed aircraft, and upon entering the forest to investigate, they saw, according to Holt's memo, what they described as a glowing object, metallic in appearance, with colored lights. As they attempted to approach the object, it appeared to move through the trees, and the animals on a nearby farm went into a frenzy. One of the service officers originally glanced, later claimed to have encountered a craft of unknown origin. Although there was no publicized mention of this at the time, and there is no corroboration from other witnesses. Shortly after 4 a.m., local police were called to the scene, but reported that the only lights they could see were those from the Orford Ness Lighthouse, some miles away on the coast. After daybreak on the morning of December 26th, servicemen returned to a small clearing near the eastern edge of the forest and found 3 small impressions on the ground in a triangular pattern, as well as burn marks and broken branches on nearby trees. At 10:30 a.m., the local police were called out again, this time to see the impressions, which they thought could have been made by an animal. And Georgina Bruni, in her book called You Can't Tell the People, published a photograph of the supposed landing site taken on the morning after the first sighting. December 28th. The deputy base commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, visited the site with several servicemen in the early hours of December 28, 1980, reported as the 29th by Holt. They took radiation readings in the triangle depressions and in the surrounding area using an AN/PDR-27, a standard U.S. military radiation survey. Although they recorded a 700ths micro or milliretro per hour. In the other regions, they detected 300ths, 400ths milliretro per hour around the background level. Furthermore, they detected a similar small burst over half per mile. Now, I've used these kind of survey meters before in the fire department, and that's actually pretty damn high. Like, that's not something you would just find. Like, if you're just scan some open area with a survey meter, you get nothing, especially on the setting for hundredths. If you put it to thousandths, then you could detect something like a pack of cigarettes if you're right against it, right? But no, this is a much coarser reading. So for them to pick up stuff like that, yeah, there's something. But Paul reported the events. It was during this investigation that almost in line with the farms, as agencies had seen. The Orford Ness Lighthouse just didn't stay in line of sight. Later, according to Holt's memo, 3 star-like lights were seen in the sky, 2 to the north and 1 to the south, about 10 degrees above the horizon. Holt said the brightest of these hovered for 2 to 3 hours and seemed to be beaming down a stream of light from time to time. Astronomers have explained these star-like lights as bright stars. I don't think so. Rendlesham Forest is owned by the Forestry Commission and consists of about 5.8 square miles of coniferous plantations interspersed with broad level belts, heathland, and wetland areas. It is located in Suffolk, about 8 miles east of the town of Ipswich. The incident occurred in the vicinity of two former military bases, RAF Deathwaters, which is just to the north of the forest, and RAF Woodbridge, which extends into the forest from the west and is bounded by the forest on its northern and eastern edges. At the time, both were being used by the United States Air Force and were under the command of Wing Commander Colonel Gordon E. Williams. The base commander was Colonel Ted Conrad and his Deputy Lieutenant Colonel Charles I. Holt. Main events of the incident, including the supposed landing or landings, took place in the forest, which starts at the east end of the base runway for about 0.3 miles to the east of the gate of RAF Woodbridge, from where security guards first noticed mysterious lights appearing and descending into the forest. The forest extends east about 1 mile beyond East Gate, ending at a farmer's field at Castle Green, where additional events allegedly took place. Orfordness Lighthouse, which skeptics identify as the flashing light seen off the coast by the airmen, is along the same site as about 5 miles further east of the forest's edge. At that time, it was a lighthouse. Okay. Well, I don't think pilots are going to mistake a lighthouse for a flying object. Off the station here.
Neither, Jesse.
The Holt memo. The first piece of primary evidence was seen written by Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt in the Ministry of Defense, known as the Holt memo. This was made publicly available in the United States under the U.S. The memo was not classified in any way. Dr. David Clark, a consultant to the National Archives, has investigated the background of this memo and the reaction to it at the Ministry of Defense. His interviews with personnel involved confirmed cursory nature of investigation, failed to find any evidence for any reports on the incident. What's he gonna find? Yeah, I mean, you're gonna go there way later and expect to find something from a crash at a landing site. In '84, a copy of what became known as the Holt tape was released to UFO researchers by Colonel Sam Morgan, who had by then succeeded Ted Conrad as Holt's superior. The tape chronicles Holt's investigation in the forest in real time, including taking radiation readings, the sightings of the flashing light between the trees, and the star-like objects that hovered and twinkled. The tape has been transcribed by researcher Ian Ridpath, who includes a link to an audio download, and also a step-by-step analysis of the That'd be interesting to listen to. So don't forget to look up Ian Ridpath, R-I-D-P-A-T-H. Statement from eyewitnesses. In 1997, the Scottish researcher James Easton obtained the original witness statements made about those involved in the first night's sightings. One of the witnesses, Ed Cabasag, said in his statement, "We figured lights were coming from past the forest instead of past the forest. We would see it glowing near the beacon light, but as we got closer, we found it to be a lit-up farmhouse. We got to the vantage point and we could determine that what we were chasing was only a beacon of light off to the distance." Another participant, John Burroughs, stated, "We could see a beacon going around, so we went down towards the we followed it for about 2 miles before we could see it was coming from a lighthouse. Others reported a noise like a woman screaming. Holt heard the same noises 2 nights earlier. Such noise could have been made by a muntjac deer in the forest, which are known for their loud, shrill bark when warm." That's very cool.
Was barking?
Some kind of deer. The Jack Deere.
Target destroyed.
Yeah, it's just saying that the police log said that they didn't really find anything.
Well, I think Rendlesham is definitely a great one to end on. It's one of the most famous UFO sightings of all time.
It's heavily documented.
Yeah, it's got a lot of documentation going on.
Target destroyed. Scan
That's a great place to put us at the end for this evening. So, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I really do appreciate it. I also wanted to remind you that,
cargo's good.
as we mentioned earlier, we do have a sponsor now here at the Creepy Little Book, and it is My Patriot Supply.
And it is delicious.
Yeah. See, emergency strike without warning, people. Power can go out, the stock market can crash, there could be an earthquake, you got no warning. Things happen you don't expect. When it's breaking news, it's too late to prepare, so now you're panicked and in a scramble. You gotta act now while things are calm. Ask yourself, could you feed yourself for several weeks with the food you have at home this very moment? If not, it's time to build an emergency food supply. I recommend using My Patriot Supply. 2-week food kit gets you started. This week, save $70 on these food kits when you go to my special website, preparewithpeter.com. These food kits include meals that last up to 25 years in storage, and they arrive fast, guaranteed 2-day delivery to your door. Those that know what's coming are using today to prepare. Get prepared with Peter.com. Go to getpreparedwithpeter.com. That's preparewithpeter.com. And you can find a link to that down in the description of this video. And you want to go out and check that stuff out, because I think it's definitely... I'm going to make a video of me cracking mine open tomorrow. Jess already got his. He's already dug into it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that in the description of the video. Yeah, and you know, the thing was that I'm learning all this food as my son too, generally kids. Of course, it was he was digging the concept, you know. I think it made him feel better too, because you know, we've all seen the movies, folks. You know, when the shit hits the fan, it ain't good. But have something that's generally enjoyable. It's good, and to know it's sitting there. Can't go bad.
3, 2, 1.
And it comes in this nice big bucket that you can use to actually, you know, plant tomatoes or whatnot, or use as a filtration system or a shitter.
Or a shitter.
Hey, keeping it real.
I keeps it real.
It's got one of those nice half flip lids too, so you could actually reuse it again and reseal it.
Okay, I updated the description of the video. I don't know what happened there. I put it in there earlier. I've been having all kinds of trouble with this today.
Kind of time change.
Damn technology.
Yeah, folks, that's preparewithpeter.com. Preparewithpeter.com. Don't forget to check out the Teespring store. Lots of Teespring and goodies to pick yourself up there. Lots of cool merch. I'll be adding some new stuff this month as well. I'm going to start rotating stuff in and out. I've been saying that a while, but New Year's coming. So we want to move all this stuff at Christmas time and get some new stuff going over the new year. Thank you to my Patreon supporters who've been sticking with me forever. I do appreciate you guys a lot. I don't say it enough, so I'm going to start saying it every day. And if you want to become a Patreon supporter yourself, there's a link to that down in the description of this video. I do appreciate you all tuning in night after night, day after day, coming here and joining us for these strange journeys down in the weird world that we live in. I want to say thank you to Deranged Lunatic and Glangs for your generous super chats. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. I want to say thank you to my panel, guys. The show would not be the same without you. And, you know, we're missing Fed tonight. Probably going to miss Fed for a couple days. He's got some stuff going on.
He'll be back.
But he'll be back. He's good. He's good. But he'll be back. Oh, Dingamallsy wants to know what happened last night's homework. Gravity bomb.
That's right.
Dan Grim says your food website doesn't have info on how to cook that food. Well, Jesse can tell you how to cook that food right now because he's made it himself.
Oh, it's super simple, dude. It's basically like right on the package. Hold on, give me 1 minute.
Just add boiling water, right? Pete? Isn't that what you said?
Yeah. For the most part.
Most of it you just add boiling water. That's it. Done. Season to your liking. Likening.
Jesse went on it. Jesse will be back. Yes, I'm in suspense. In deep suspense here.
I know.
Alright, I just grabbed 3 random things. This is buttermilk pancakes. It's real simple. They put it right on the back. Alright. Open pouch. Remove oxygen absorber. There's a little pack in there. Keeps you fresh. Preheat a skillet. Using the chart. Mix pancake mix with water. Fry pancakes. Done. What is this one? Home style potato soup. This I actually made last night. This is pretty damn good. Open pouch. Remove oxygen absorber. Bring 4.5 cups of water to a boil. Whisk the entire contents of the pouch in. Reduce to a medium and cook for 15 minutes and eat veg.
Slam.
Yeah. Long grain white rice. Oh, this is a very plain one. But anyway, open the thing. Every quarter cup of rice, do a half cup of water extra. Bring to a boil, cover a low heat, 15 to 20 minutes. All of it's all the same. Just add the right amount of water. Either add the stuff and bring it to a boil, or you bring it to a boil and add the stuff. You simmer it, and then it's good.
Please submit a docking request before
Yeah,
entering the station.
very simple. Like the chocolate pudding one, you don't even need to heat up water. You just need to mix it with cold water and
Approach
heat it
to
up.
landing pad 30.
But, yeah, it's pretty neat. Plus, I got the 4-week, and the outside of the box of like 38 pounds. I think I had to weigh 50 pounds. I mean, it was pretty hefty shit. It's pretty cool. I was satisfied. I was really happy that I enjoyed the stuff, so like it was just like, oh, this is good. I was like, okay, cool. you know, I ain't gonna lie to you.
Landing gear deployed.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, my kid was eating it and he liked it. Kids ain't gonna fucking lie to you.
Oh, Danny Grimm says the power goes out here in California when P&G and E sneezes.
Contact.
How do I boil water? Well, you're going to need to have a little camper stove for that.
Mm-hmm.
You can boil water with a can of Sterno.
That's true. Also, if you want, you could take tuna fish cans, cat food cans, anything you want, wash them out. You could take little strips of cardboard and roll them up like a jelly roll. Stick it in there. Then you could melt down some wax into it as you gently pour some kerosene. Mix it up. And when that sets up, you'll have your own sternos. My father used to make them in the backyard for
Oh,
Boy
cool.
Scouts.
Wow.
Just takes a little bit of patience.
I used to have a Coleman, Danny. A little Coleman camper stove. And you put those, what are they, you know, the little canisters?
Yeah, little propane tanks.
Yeah.
I have extra ones of those, so I've been leaving my camping stuff in the kitchen to make skillet stuff because I had 6 extra propanes from when I went camping.
Right, yeah, I used to have them all the time when I used to go camping all the time.
I didn't want to leave them for like, 6 months to a year, so I figured use them
No.
up.
Yeah.
Plus the skillet makes bacon so much better.
Ain't that the truth?
Mm-hmm. That is no joke.
Dan Grimm says the only issue I have here is what does the person who's never done this before do? Well, I think you educate yourself. I think you watch a lot of videos on YouTube. I think you read as much as you can on different blogs and websites.
Yeah.
To kind of fill you in on the whole idea behind being more prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that like this is the kind of lifestyle that you need to like jump full bore your whole life into, where everything's all about it, and you're
Yeah, you don't need a separate room in a zombie fighting vehicle. You just
Yeah.
your cabinet.
Right.